Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the English translation of the Majlis of Hazrat Maulana Qamar Uzzaman Saheb Damat Barakatuhum, which took place on Sunday, the 1st of Rabi'ul Awwal 1445, corresponding with the English date 17th of September 2023. Hazrat Wala is saying, you people know that my health is not good at all. It is Rabiul Awwal and Maulana said that I should speak something about that. Now Allah Ta'ala make this a means of us gaining the barakat of this month and of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now here we have some intikhabat, selected articles from the actual kitab Mansab-e-Imamat. The status or the level of Imamat, which is the compilation of Hazrat Maulana Mohammad Ismail Shaheed Rahimahullah. You know, people had said such terrible things about him, but when you go through this year, you will able to understand what type of love he had for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You know, Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Saheb used to read from this kitab abundantly. Now there's darajat here. There's darajat. You have the darja of uluhiyat and that of divinity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then you have the darja of risalat, which is that of prophethood. And then after that you have the darja of imamat, the deputies of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Now, like how you would have the importance of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you would have the importance of his deputies as well, because they are echoing actually the sentiments of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. It is He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who sent amongst the unlettered, the illiterate nation, the Arabs, a Rasul from themselves, an Arab himself, who recites his ayat, meaning of the Quran Kareem, to them, spiritually purifies them, and teaches them the book, meaning the Quran, and wisdom, meaning Sunnah. وَإِن كَانُوا مِن قَبْلُ لَفِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. Without doubt, they, most of the Arab, were in clear deviation and error before this, before the teachings and the preachings and the ta'aleem of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had come. So what can we say about divinity? That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What can we say about prophethood? That's only for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the last of the messengers. Yes, niyabat and imamat, yeah, that we can most definitely speak about. But it's no just simple, easy thing like that. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb, I never ever heard this year from him. This year was the article that we heard over and over from Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Saheb. And he would say it in front of the great personalities and luminaries who came to sit at his feet at that time, Maulana Ali Mia and so forth, others who had come. Now, Allah Ta'ala make us deserving and of this type of maqam of being true deputies of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the duties of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was that he made tilawat of the Quran Majid. He recited the ayat of the Quran. He made tazkiyah. He taught them kitab and sunnah. Now Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Saheb used to read this year so passionately, and both of them were so truly the same. Dona yaksa the. whichever great shuyukh would come at that time, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, he would read his own ibarat, etc. And Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Sahab used to quote like from this kitab. So here, after Hamd and Salat, this insignificant and weak servant who is most hopeful of the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who also, this weak servant, Muhammad Ismail, may Allah forgive him, is saying about this risala and this booklet of the mansab of imamat and the status of it. What is the haqiqat and what is the reality and what is the different categories that are here? The next caption and subheading reads, Imamat ki haqiqat, that this leadership, what is the reality of it? So it is written here in the first category that the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam ke chand kamalat ka zikr hai. There is some mention of a few of the great accomplishments of the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam, which has definitely great effects and has to do a lot with those who are his deputies as well, meaning they should have that in their lives also. We should also understand that in essence, the imams, the saintly people thereafter, are actually the deputies of the Rasul. And imamat is the shadow or the shade of risalat, which is the essence, prophethood. If you want to understand the reality of the ahkam of the deputy, then you would have to go and understand the ahkam of the Nabi. And if you want to know the essence of the shadow, then you would actually have to go to the genuine object itself. Asal ki haqiqat se you will able to understand it. You'll have to go to that actual concrete object to see that what shadow or shade it is throwing. Now there's so much that we can say about this year, and for us to enumerate and encompass all of this year is absolutely something which is impossible, especially people who are such simple, ordinary simpletons of this ummah. I mean, not the khawas, he's referring to himself, simple people. And then he goes on to the point. So we're speaking here about the shadow and the shade. Hazrat Wala is speaking about this huge pomegranate tree that was there in their village, but it was such and it was so dense that it covered half the village, and majority of the people would bring their charpais, maybe their stools or those wooden beds or whatever they could sit on, they would bring it under there and they would enjoy that shade. Even Qari Mubin Saab's father, who was a great personality himself, he would come there. Now the Urdu here that is mentioned is absolutely amazing. Now if the Urdu is such and of such a caliber and written so beautifully and so well presented, can you even think for a moment how the Farsi would be? Every Buzrug has his khususiyat. What can I tell you about Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab? He was an alim par excellence. Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Sahab was not understood to be an alim. But what can I tell you about his ulum, his knowledge, etc. was that which you would find in every other alim. And he would go and unko wajd aata tha. He was so passionate about this. He would read through these ibarat and the text, and he would say that. Nevertheless, from amongst the things here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had blessed Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam with this great type of honor, respect, izzat, azmat, wajahat. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam did not do such insignificant things that would have a negative impact on his character and on his personality. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept him safe from all of that. More than that, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was very cautious. Nevertheless, I'm speaking about these two buzruks. Hazrat Wala is saying, I'm not the Jami' and I do not have the essence of both of them put together in myself. I'm not the Jami' of it. However, I can say so much that I sat with them, I heard, I know the talimat of both of them. You know, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb's mother would say, when the child himself, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb, at a very young and tender age already, she said, that this child's shan and his capacity is going to be so great, meaning he's going to turn out as a wali. He was a man of exercise absolute precaution. You know, you would have these dams there, and then you would have the share of each person, due to which, I mean, now whose milkiyat is it? Who's the owner of it? And then the people would take it from there, fishermen would take it, and then they would come and then they would sell it. He would never ever purchase, he would never ever eat the fish from those dams in the villages there. I mean, Fatehpur, it's called Tal Narja because of the Tal there, that dam and that the water that is there. But that was his ihtiyat and his precaution that he exercised. You know, it comes in the hadith that you should pay the laborer before his perspiration dries. So sometimes it would happen that the builder or the artisan, the person who was working there, he would leave and he would go home. But if Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb used to come to know about that, he would express such a type of displeasure that what is this and how is this? How is it that you people let him go without giving him? Go and look and find where he lives and go and pay him before his perspiration dries. That was him, and that was his ihtiyat and his precaution that he exercised. You know, somebody made a remark regarding Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb, the property there, and you know, the toilets or the bathroom in the old days, that portion of it came onto this person's land or zameen. Now leave alone researching that to actually see if it was true, was it false, was it an accusation, was it just something made up or this or that or the other? Immediately he said to his people, listen, take that and demolish it. Afterwards we can always see that, listen, was it on his part of the land or was it on our part of the land? He didn't even go and do this and that. Immediately he said, go and demolish it. I don't even want to know or hear. Go and demolish it. This was the ihtiyat and how cautious our mashayikh were. So in such high and honorable words, Hazrat Maulana Shah Ismail Shaheed describes and speaks about the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, whereas these people did not put the fatwa of disbelief against him. So we should know well that the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam, when they used to be in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in comparison to or as opposed to the rest of the people, their category of their presence and that hal and high status which they enjoyed in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was absolutely outstanding. That they had the nazar and the gaze of the affection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Khudawand Dhul Jalal, upon them. And it was the affection and compassion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that was with them. And they were outstanding because of these ni'mats of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were always on such a progressive and high level that was unlimited. They were the beloveds of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were the special servants and accepted servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whoever befriended them was actually then became the friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whoever harbored enmity, hatred and grudge against them was their enemy. Eventually, actually, the total sum and the answer of that was that they were actually the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And loving them it was a means of making tarakki of darajat in different high levels by making tawassul and wasila, using their names in asking and making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was a means of salvation. In following them, it had such a magnetic effect that it would draw the boons of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala towards a person. Unki ittiba' dafi baliyat hai. And following them was something which would ward away calamities. They were a spring and a fountain of blessings and spiritual waves. And they were the treasure of the secrets of the unseen. Whoever was connected to them, their mutawassilin and their ummatis, the least effort that they would carry out would be so highly appreciated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and their great sins were also forgiven. Okay, so let's continue. Also then, Hazrat Wala is saying, जहाँ तक हो सके हुजूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की मोहब्बत की सबूत दे. This is this khas मौसम, season, this month, these days that we are going through, Rabi'ul Awwal, more than anything else, or just claims. We should actually give proof and be so genuine in our love. It should be dripping from our deeds, from the way we carry ourselves. It should give thubut and establish our love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not just zabani, not just verbal. Allah Ta'ala bless us with every type of fuyuz and barakat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the special month, that month in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born. Allah Ta'ala bless us with the barakat of this month. Allah Ta'ala bless us with external and internal, zahiri and batini health. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم بحرمة سيد النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.